Listening to the words of Vanessa, there is the question of how to proceed, knowing that in the times of complexity, there are no easy answers, but there might be answers that are enabling us to think a little bit out of the box, differently, and at the same time with the aspiration that we would like to trigger change also in people's actions. So it's the old story, how to make us to change and to others to follow the example through changing their ways of doing things. Because whenever we're doing things, we are exchanging it with nature, with other people. We are having impact on nature, and we are having impact on people. So it's what I came out with Vanessa's presentation was the paradox about the options. Is when she was presenting it, there are 3 sets of reforms possible: soft reform, radical reform, and beyond reform. And you have this logical structure of same questions, same answers, same questions, different answers, different questions, different answers. But then there is a 4th one, from logical point of view, which says that we have different questions, but the same answers. And this is a paradox, I think, that we are stuck in somehow. And that's why I would like to ask our panelists who are bringing the diversity. And I don't see that Miguel is with us from the North-South Center. But Max Zimani is a relentless fighter for justice in the broadest sense, working with on global education, educating children and us adults on issues of human dignity, I would say, and respect. But on the other hand, also a social entrepreneur running a social business called Skuchna, the World Kitchen. We are going to visit tomorrow, those who are here tomorrow. With us is Patricia Virtic. She is the head of global education at Platform Sloga. You know her well. Also relentless organizer for the cause of global education, to foster it at home and on European level, bringing her insight to that discussion from this political process we are running in Europe and so on. Really, I presented you already, and what my question is now is when you also reflected upon this paradox I pointed out. Are we somehow in the danger to question, to ask different questions, but to get very same answers today? So I would like, maybe to start with you. Maybe we can test. The technicians.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, self-organized. Well done. Thank you. I think we are really somehow in the crossroad in many ways. And in the individual level, I think that many of us, we really understand that we need to change. But how to do that? That's really is the key question. And if the individuals are thinking that how to change, how can we really ask about the system to be changed? And meaning the system here now on the political, or how the societies has been functioned. So what is the structure, how the governments or whatever line ministries, private sector, NGOs, etc., how we have exactly established ourselves. And we all know that the change is difficult. You need to jump over your comfort zone, and that's really is the mental block is the biggest challenge what we are having. Having said that, I think that all of us has really went through during the last years quite a fundamental race at the moment. So in the other hand, it might be the opportunity now that people are ready for the change much more. And then it comes really back to all of us who are really working with the education and that field. It's really the great opportunity. And I think that is really the point, that how can we really use about this momentum. And when Vanessa was talking about this joy and fun and positive and all of that, half of me totally agreed, and then half of me is saying that what I'm going to tell to the minister or somebody else to say that, be happy that you can really allocate the budget for our activities. It won't really work. So it's somehow the realism comes, and really then again it really depends on where you work, in what is your level and what is your target, where you're looking for the change to be happened. So in that way I totally agree that definitely we have to find some kind of positive side of making the changes, but at the same time then you need to think about that what works in which context. But perhaps last point from my side so far is also that what exactly is to change what we are looking for. Is that really the impact what we are looking for? Because, for example, we are really good, each of us, to really get some kind of smaller steps, so that we want to really get the nice results. I'm happy that I have my sentence in the European Union Council conclusions, but what is going to be changed? That is perhaps the question on there. And I think that's a little bit on the point where I believe that we should really put much more effort on thinking that what really is concretely the change what we are looking for, and not be happy that we are only halfway, but we have to definitely need to get to the end. But that's the first reaction. Thanks.
Thank you, really. Patricia, would you follow with that?
Sure. I agree with my predecessor, what he said, and just adding that if we wouldn't believe that the change is possible, I'm sure that we would not be sitting in this room. So hopefully we are those who believe that the change is possible, and we are the ones that we are going to make changes, so we are the change makers. But the reality is that we are designed in this way that we don't really want to make a change in reality, because it's hard. It takes time, it takes effort, we have to unlearn some of the things that we have been brought up from the start, and we are working on it. So change it's work. It's painful. You need resources to do it. You need the willpower, and of course it's not just an uphill road. It's also goes up and down, and sometimes even down, and it's discouraging. So if we are trying to push for a change, we have to, accept all of this into our change. And I like what you said, and I'm building on that, is that, of course, the change of transformation of the individual is important and needed, but it's not enough. This is what brought us here. We need a societal change. We need a transformation of the ways that we are working and on the ways and how we are running this world. And by that means that perhaps, we are always asking, what are the solutions? How are we going to make this change happen? But usually we don't stop and ask ourselves, are there communities out there who already know the solutions to these challenges, who have tackled it? Is it perhaps the solution lies outside the borders of Western world? it's those kind of questions that we need to, pose to ourselves. And of course, it brings a lot of time and effort, and it's hard, but it brings fruit. So I believe that we are still on the positive side.
Thank you very much, Patricia. In between, I'm looking into technical issues, so Miguel has to join us. So I hope that the technical team will solve this in the next minutes, so that we will also hear from the North-South Center their view regarding their position in the global education community. That would be very valuable for us. Now, Max, you can, I think, also reflect on what was said before.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Albin. So last night I had a casual discussion with a neighbor of mine, and I told him that I'm making plans to go to Zimbabwe should there be a big war in Europe. It was half a joke. So his response was, well, that's a great idea. I think we should all go to Africa. Then I was thinking to myself, okay, what makes you think that you can just go to Africa and that Africans will open up their houses and welcome you? When Africans come to Europe, you build fences. So I actually did ask him this, but it was also half a joke. But now I'm not joking anymore. I think change comes when people really see that there's a need for change. In my experience doing these global education courses that you talked about, and thank you for the introduction, I have a feeling that either the subjects, the people I'm dealing with, don't get it, I mean that they really don't get it, or they don't want to get it. One or the other. In my opinion, I think we really need to start learning how to be human beings. To actually rediscover what it means to be a human being. Because as it is, we're still talking about very, very superficial things like racism, gender discrimination, and everything else, forgetting the essence that at the end of the day, we're human beings. A few days ago, I saw on TV Slovenia, one minister saying that he would welcome 200,000, up to 200,000 Ukrainian migrants to Slovenia with a population of about 2 million. Now he is, if not the same person, at least from the party that was in about 2015 advocating closing the borders and campaigning to people on the basis that we should accept as few migrants as possible because they're expensive to maintain. There was a figure, this was a political campaign. Then he went on to explain that, well, there are cultural, issues here. We're culturally much more, closer to these people. So, to me, also when I talk to other people about this Ukraine issue, there's this tendency, that this could be happening to me. They're just like us. This could be me. That's why there is massive support, humanitarian assistance from Slovenia, and I believe from other European countries as well for the Ukraine issue. But then again, you're forgetting that Afghans are people as well. So are Libyans. So are Iraqis. Why is it that it's so difficult to understand this? That's why I think we get back to what I said at the beginning, that maybe somehow we need to learn to be human beings. There is a philosophy where I come from called Wunu. It's been popularized to be called Ubuntu or Ubuntu. That's a South African version, but it's essentially very similar. It means I am because we are. So basically, people are people are people. And I think whether it be the educational system or whatever, I think we need to start by learning to be human beings.
Thank you, Max, for these words that are inviting further exploration from our side. You know, how to find that kind of humanity in ourselves, the respect for the others, the inclusiveness. And so many positive things that we learn from everyday activities we do when we are striving to do something together. But working together means also is calling upon the vicinity of the others, which is some kind of a topical or geographical term. So it's also asking ourselves, you know, how we should address that that is not in the vicinity, but is in our common planet. Because what we are facing today are planetary challenges. We're testing planetary boundaries, as we are told by the scientists. So it's the issue of how we should proceed on that level. If I'm sticked with the paradox I posed before, you know, it's we have the questions. We are providing the different questions for ourselves as a global education community. But are our answers still not, you know, bringing us to the point of providing a solution? Because it seems like we are still in those four layers of denial, what Vanessa was addressing. And this, I think, is something what we as a community have to deal with, because we are facing that when we are talking with the education professionals in formal education, in the system, when we are talking with decision makers, when we are approaching media, and so on, so on, so on. This is something which I think is that we should upon. And the denials, what Vanessa was pointing out, were denials of violence, unsustainability, entanglement, or magnitude of the challenges. So when we are facing this, so my next question would be, you know, how should we proceed from that? We know that now through analytical work, through practical work, and so on. But before we proceed with that question, I see that our technicians managed to get to enable Miguel to join us. Hello, Miguel. It's nice to have you with us. Now I feel like Eurovision. Sorry. It's it's the first time I'm carrying this, and this is a device of control, because you really have to take care of what you are saying. So Miguel, glad to have you here. I hope you managed to listen to us on Facebook or YouTube, so that you know what it was said. The question was, you know, and we would really like to hear what you, as a program manager of the Global Education at North-South Center, has to share with us with that paradox that we are we having providing different questions but are stuck with the same answers, what to do. The word is yours.
Hi. Thank you very much, Alvin, and I'm glad to join the panel. I just have a technical issue, is that I'm listening to that interpreter as well.
The technical services are on its way to repair
Okay,
that.
I think it's fine now.
Good.
Good. So thank you very much for introducing me, Albin. And I don't know if you are giving me the floor now or if it was just an introduction. By the way, I still have the technical issue. I can hear the translator also speaking.
So I'm going to say something that you can hear if there is anybody translating me. No. So I hope it works. So what we are doing is that we are translating the whole plenary session into Slovenian for historical and archivistic reasons, because we would like to share that also, with people who are working in the field or would like to work in the field, and just to make the language barrier non-existent. That's why. So I really hope that the technicians will manage to deal with it. So maybe Miguel, you can start and just talk into microphone and put the headphones away so that you will not be disturbed, because we can hear you well.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Yep. Excellent. Okay. So thank you also for welcoming me on this panel. I'm very honored to participate in this meeting and to have this opportunity to join again with all stakeholders, colleagues working on the global education and global citizenship education. So I would like to intervene actually on two. So I would like to intervene actually on two.
Can you shut me off?
Can you shut me off?
Now I'm mute. Oh, no, I'm not mute. Maybe, Miguel, you have two microphones somewhere?
One on the headset?
One on a headset, one on a computer?
If the headset has two plugs, it should unplug the hearing part and just plug the microphone. Otherwise, just unplug everything and
No, I unplugged the headsets now, so it should work.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah.
It works.
Okay, so I will start. I was just saying that actually I would like to
Mute me, please.
Yeah, it works. Okay, so I will start. I was just saying that actually I would like to mute me, please. I will proceed. I will proceed.
maybe we can proceed with our panelists in house, Miguel, and I will ask the technical staff to deal with the issue in the background and give me a sign when you will be ready to talk without these difficulties. So it's shall we proceed with Miguel, or shall we proceed with the panel here in Ljubljana? Okay, Miguel, can you try it now? No, so okay.
I will try.
Shall we proceed with the panel here in Ljubljana?
I'm trying.
Okay, Miguel, can you try it now?
Yes, I'm trying. And can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well, but then there is a second voice coming in. So maybe you can turn down maybe YouTube or Facebook or whatever is running. So just that it's you and the microphone, and that we can proceed.
Okay. It could be you pronounce now the magic word YouTube, because I was following you on YouTube, and that was probably the issue. I'm really sorry for this.
Now it works.
Good.
So
yes, it works.
these are the.
Thank you very much. Well, I would like to actually intervene in representation of the North-South Center and as a citizen, as a global citizen. So, as representative of the North-South Center, I would like to first of all to celebrate 20 years of global education, global citizenship education, and I think we should devote some attention to this, because for the past 20 years there has been a great advancement in terms of raising awareness, triggering sensitivity for this understanding on global challenges and global interdependence, and actually to stimulate also this action-oriented citizenship within this local and global perspective. So at this stage we should celebrate this. Of course, people would ask, but then after so much achievements, why we are still here? I would say that education is an ongoing process. It's an ever-ending process, and because we are related also to global issues, education has to adapt regularly to these global issues. However, creating a critical mass, which has been, which we are contributing to, is attaining its results. But why we are still working on this? And in this respect, I would say that maybe the main challenge lays specifically on the adaptation of the formal system to innovative pedagogies, and here remains still a lot of work to do to make sure that concretely formal education systems really give the opportunity and the possibility for formal educators to introduce new pedagogies. And I'm afraid that so far we are still in the formal system using traditional paradigms in terms of teaching or knowledge transmission. We are far from this learner-centered approach. However, I would say that it's not a lack of willingness from formal educators. It's still a lack of appropriate format, teaching format and curricular format that allows formal educators to really deal with such innovative pedagogies as global education or global citizenship education. And here remains our work, to to work on this, multi-actor or multi-stakeholder perspectivity with, joining formal educators and non-formal educators with representatives from the ministry to really allow space for, an appropriate learner-centered approach and critical learning approach. And this still, needs a lot of accomplishment in this direction. I see that, nowadays formal educators are overwhelmed with, administrative work, reporting, and a lot of, overcrowded classrooms. So conditions are not yet there to allow educators to do their work, which is, to be a pedagogue. And this is the critical questions nowadays. Educators have no more time to be real pedagogues. So it is time that, we accept, and institutional representatives accept to change, this working format and work on an appropriate working format, an appropriate curricula for educators to implement these innovative pedagogies. I would like also to intervene as a global citizen and more in line with Vanessa's introduction and topic. I was referring to this idea of critical mass, and that how we can contribute to create a critical mass, aware of global interdependencies, global challenges, and here I trust that there is still a lot of work to do in raising awareness on the responsibility of each of us as citizens in this overall situation of inequities, and unfairness that Vanessa was referring to, and here and this is of course, and it's a position that I take as a citizen, maybe for the North, although aware of this, global interdependencies, but from the perspective of the North, we need to devote still more time on, raising awareness and a critical understanding about all these power relations, and in this regard, the fact that we are still, maybe insufficiently prepared to be critical to this power relation. And here I address this question about, being aware of the impact of our system and the consumerism, problematic, and so that we should, more in a more focused way to work on this construction of consumerism, to apprehend our own responsibility in this consumerism that contribute actually to this power dynamics. And because it relates to these issues of deregulation, liberalization, profit-oriented systems that generate all these inequities. And as far as we are not, totally, fully critical about these imbalances, which is provoked by this consumerism, we will never, solve the problem. And here the critical mass, yes, must be, and again I'm speaking on my behalf as a citizen, the critical mass really should be more aware about these complicities, or I would even say promiscuity between institutional actors, private economic and financial actors, because this is the center of the imbalances. So this is what I wanted to share with you, and the link, actually the link with Vanessa's and Andreotti input. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel, for these words. I would just underline that underline what you said about the need for critical understanding on the power relations, and I think that global education has some answers and a lot of experience to answer on that, how to recognize, the typography of power relations, all that stuff, it's there. So, and coming back to the challenge that Vanessa was in front of us, is that, and I'd like to ask the panelists regarding that is how we as a global education community can expand our collective capacity to hold space for difficult and uncomfortable issues, as we wrote in our questions, without feeling overwhelmed, immobilized, or demanding a quick fix. Which is a very demanding question now. And but you all, as practitioners from the different sides of global education, might have a reflection on that. How we can do that without feeling overwhelmed, immobilized, or demanding a quick fix. Maybe Max?
Okay, you got me now, because you expect me to give a quick answer just after we had a very good contribution about basically there not being quick answers. So I can't give you a quick answer, sorry. But I think if you look right now at the situation in which most NGOs are faced, at least the relatively bigger ones, a lot of their work is really project related. They apply for projects, get some funding, if necessary, hire some people, do that work, report, move on to the next one. Now, that alone means that they are really not very well placed to look at certain cases, certain issues that are actually important and work on them really long term. Too much attention is put into project-related work rather than on programming, so to say. So I think, in the case of the organization that you mentioned before, Skuchna, what we've done is we look at our own resources and we continue certain discussions called Skuchna Talks, at which we look at the so-called difficult issues. And we do that whether we're funded or not. So that is the advantage. So I think one thing is ways of looking, decoupling yourself from, let's say, the sources of funding so that you can actually commit your resources to doing the work that you consider to be important. That for sure, I think, will be helpful. But I get inspiration from organizations like Osmi Marec, I think it's called in Slovenia, that are actually being impactful. It really gives you this impression that a group of dedicated people who take their time and really put a lot of energy into something can actually succeed, and that they don't have to be politically connected. I have less faith now in politicians and more faith in organizations like that. Of course, having said that, we should also not forget that there are many, many, many other movements, not just small organizations, that have made changes. Whether we're looking at apartheid in South Africa, in organization of people, whether they were formally organizations or just random, but they did make changes because somebody came up with the idea at the right time and did something about it. Organizations like Black Lives Matter, for instance, I think they are important and they do make changes. Unfortunately, of course, this can be there are no quick fixes. These things do take time.
Thank you, Max, for these words. I think that it's organizing ourselves is something what we do best. I think, it's maybe we were all falling into the trap of social networks and the bubbling that was produced for us. So now we have to reflect something what we did already in the past, movements. Which is something that was, for example, remember peace movement in Europe, bringing millions of people out to protest interballistic rocket positioning around the country, so on. But Patricia, my question was, how to address those uncomfortable issues and give more hopeful answers.
Well, I don't know. I don't have the answer, but what I would like to point out is the GC is not the answer. It's a tool that provides us an answer that we can, find together. So if we look at the GC as something that is like instant, you put out a GC workshop and here you have the peace on the world. It's not going to happen. Then you're going to be discouraged. So it's a process. So I remember once upon a time when I was long time ago, when I was a small child, we started, those who live in Slovenia, we started with the recycling of waste. So I'm coming, my family is like a traditional Slovenian family. So I remember when we started, I was already in the kindergarten and we started to learn about, you should separate waste. And at home we didn't do that. We only separated biological waste that goes into the garden and the rest of the trash. And we slowly started doing that because, of course, this is the way that, when you are a small child, you are nagging your parents that we have to do it right. We have to separate the glass, the paper, the plastic. And I remember my father saying, this is not going to, nobody, this is not going to catch on. And slowly but surely, now it's, not only that it's mandatory to recycle, but it's also kind of, nobody is really questioning. So you have different types of trash bins and you just sort the waste. However, this is not the end story. Now we know that recycling is, after reducing and reusing of things. So we have learned something new and now we're realizing that what we have been taught when we were small children, it's not enough. So it's okay to recycle, it's needed, but it's not enough. We need to take a step further, which is reducing and recycling, reducing, reusing, and then afterwards recycling, right? So I think it's the same, it goes in the GC. Of course, we cannot expect that all together we'll do these giant big leaps, but we could, as you said, start with small steps that would bring small rewards, as we're kind of designed this way that we like to see some instant progress. But the fact is with the GC and every value-based education that actually works on the transforming mindsets, behaviors, it takes time. It's a long process, so we need to be prepared of that. But as we say, if we don't believe that it's possible, then we should just quit the planet, and that's it. But I don't think that we are there yet. So I don't have a quick fix for thing, but I'm hopeful that if we have this people, and there are, like, it's more and more people that really demand change, that demand something to be done different. And we have various tools, various ways, various cases that we can kind of collect the power and the knowledge, and we start working slowly but surely. So I hope that my children will live in a better world, although the predictions are really not good, right? We all know how this world is right now. So I think that the first thing is start sugarcoating things, the reality is cruel, the planetary limitations are there. So instead of like working around it, this is the fact. So we either have somewhere like more sustainable world, or we have the end of the human race in some near future. So I think that sugarcoating should be stopped, and we should start, addressing like really big issues, but perhaps in a non-conventional ways. What Vanessa presented could be a good start. So just, start thinking not only outside the box, but maybe even outside the paper.
Thank you, Patricia, for that. Really? Do we have time?
I hope so. I do hope so that I can echo exactly. Thanks, Patricia, for using this example about this recycling issue, because that's definitely exactly every single matter what you do per day, it really matters. And I think that's really is the issue that we shouldn't undermine about the activisms and all those daily practical things. So that's absolutely needed, but it's not enough. And that's really is the point. And I think that we have been perhaps a little bit naive as a community as well, because we believe on education and we are coming from the very goodwill point of view. But why I'm saying naive is that exactly the real life, real politics, what we know, what we are witnessing today, it's not fun, it's really rude, it's very cruel, it's very selfish. And I think that we have to really understand much better about this reality. We shouldn't be some kind of blue eyes and just saying that, okay, yeah, in one day the sun is shining and flowers are growing and whatever on that. Hopefully, yes. But I think that we need to understand much more and somehow accept, but challenge at the same time, about how the system functions. And now it comes really back to the real power, which really talks, is the money. So what really is the role of the money? Are we really following the money? Are we really challenging those who has the money and how they're using that? And I'm not sure that we really do that enough. Because we want to do the gentle way, we want to do that in the educational way, we would like to take the most fragile on board, and indeed we have to do that, but I think that we have to really think about the big power at the same time, and really challenge that. And I think that one of the things what we have tried to do, and many of you have been involved on that, through the Bridge 47 network, is really that we are talking with the European Commission at the moment about the competencies. Because that's one of those tools where, for example, the focus is in the individual competencies. What is the skills of the individual who could be the good worker, so how the business can get best out of that person. And if we can influence in these points where exactly this power system functioned, then we can challenge the system much more quicker than doing that from the educational point of view. And again, I'm underlining that this is not either or, but we have to definitely do that in the both sides at the moment. And going to those tables where you have to really have the very uncomfortable situation, and you need to argue with the arguments which are not necessarily those what we are in our educational bubble talking, but you need to talk about really the hard words, and talk about the what is the currency curve at the moment, and all these where the power really relays on there. And I think that's a little bit what we have missed as a community, and I think that we have to challenge ourselves much more on that. But I think that the one point perhaps to add on there is that it doesn't really mean that everyone has to do everything on that. But what we definitely need to have is much better coordination, much more better division of labor, because everybody's needed. But I think that everyone, I'm not talking in the individual level and in the organizational level, needs to do where it's best, and really trying to get best out of that, and trying to find the impact in that level where you worked. And it's not really categorizing what is more important than the other, but I think that we definitely need to have a better coordination on that those who are ready to talk with the multinationals about the competencies, they should do that. And those who are really, really good with the children in the kindergartens is needed to do there, and all of that between. So I think that's perhaps some kind of lessons learned from the decades what we have worked together. And then perhaps the last point from my side is really that how could we, with all the actions, whatever we do, because anyway, there's every single opportunity and every single meeting or wherever you go and with whoever you are talking, there's individuals even sitting in the same table on there. Even if you are the billionaire, you are the human being as well. And you have the human being needs, and you have the emotions and all of that. So how could we talk and help that person to really understand that what is my role so I can really do good for this whole world where I'm living, including the humans and the nature at the same time. And this is, for me, is the global citizenship education. It's really the educational tool how we can really help exactly the other ones who are not yet enlightened to really understand that there's a lot to offer on that. And I think that's a little bit the thing where we should put attention.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Patricia?
I wrote down when Vanessa was doing a presentation on the house, and it goes with what you were saying. I wrote down that we need to be mindful of each other and our skills, capacities, our good points. And I wrote down not to have 2 windows and no doors in the rooms that we are building. So it's really a collective effort. We need to take this holistic approach to this building of the building, and acknowledging each of us is needed and has a special skill, and all of this, while at the same time talking about how are we going to build this house, and have even a bigger discussion: is the house even needed, or is this the type of the house that we want to build? So it goes back to what you have said before on the change. So it's all about building this global community in a way. In community we have the goods and the bads, the highs and the lows, the sick and the healthy, but these are the ones that are building these communities. And just putting aside one skillful worker will not, our house is not going to be complete. So
thank you very much. The power of what's the word in English, of the picture that was showed by Vanessa on houses, is that we immediately understand what it means to have a roof upon our heads, or what means to have heating on. I'm coming from Postojna. Some years ago we had a big meteorological event that cut off us from electrical grid for 7 days. So 35,000 people were without electricity for 4 or 5 days. Then the generators started to come in. The solidarity started to pour into our community because we were completely vulnerable from all parts of our lives, old, young, educated, non-educated, whatever you take. It was experience indirectly. Unfortunately, we didn't manage as a community to reflect on that inside. So we moved. Oh, the electricity is back, the heating is back, everything is back. So we didn't reflect on it, what we really learned out of it. And I think that's also one of the things, because we are now approaching 15:00. 3 o'clock for a coffee break, and very demanding exchange among ourselves on that. I would like to end here with that. Maybe anybody would like to join us with a small, short thought about what we were hearing. So if there is a will for that, there is always a microphone for it.
I would like also to have a quick word also.
Oh, Miguel.
Over my, sorry.
Thank you for coming in.
I feel I'm God because everyone is looking at the sky when I speak. Sorry for this. No, actually, again, I would like to underline how successful we have been, and we have to also nurture the achievements, on raising this critical mass, having now critical citizens, readers, actors, readers of reality, of course. I think that the point is we still live, so our collective mindset is already, prepared for a new future. However, we are still living in old paradigms, inherited from whatever you call, the Industrial Revolution, colonization, capitalism. The point is that our paradigm now privileges, the individual interests and private interests over the collective interest and the public good. And this is where we have to shift, actually. And this is a regular, daily effort, collective effort. And I think this is the political involvement also of contemporary citizens, to transform this this paradigm and go more into a value-oriented than profit-oriented system. And unless we don't change this, we will never get out, of the current mess that Vanessa talked about in her presentation. So yeah, shifting from individual and private interest to collective interest and the public good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel, for your thoughts on that. I also think that we are living in a time of unprecedented changes that are demanding our response, to adapt our actions all around. So here is Max. You wanted to add something? Yeah.
So thank you again. Patricia said before that global citizenship is a process, and I couldn't agree with that more. And I agree basically with everything that you've just said, Miguel. So we have currently a system that is complex. We're talking about a capitalist system that is producing more and more inequalities, an educational system that can be characterized, at least historically speaking, as a weapon of mass destruction, because it was used in many spaces, especially in colonial countries, to really to destroy people's cultures, to change their values, like values like compassion, solidarity, and other things to something else, not compatible with their humanity. And a political system, democracy, that has produced demons to run our countries, as well as value systems that are on paper, right? There is a difference between value systems as they are declared and value systems as they are practiced, right? So these are all issues that we are faced with when we look at what we can call the system. And I think we need to start by admitting this is the reality and then take it from there. Personally, I'm tired of lying to myself or being lied to, or rather expecting people, when they lie to me, to say, yes. No, not anymore. These are the realities, and we need to accept them. And then at least when you accept them, then you can start making the changes that are needed. Whether these changes are from an individual level or from an institutional level, it becomes irrelevant. I think as an individual, it's very difficult. You need to, to work with other people in organizations or movements or whatever it is. But I think that's where we'll start with. And also this whole idea of what civilization really is. Mm-hmm. I mean, are you civilized if you have high technology? What does it mean? Because right now, when you listen to mass media, they will talk about primitive people, uncivilized people, still as we speak today. But these are people who have their own way of life, right? It is Europe that has mastered the art of war, that can destroy, and stuff like that. But is that a measure of civilization? So we have these difficult things that we need to talk to, but I think the very, very fundamental thing is individually we need to look at this, accept it, understand what a truth is and what a lie is. We can no longer live in a lie, in a society whereby things that we know to be not true are taken for granted to be truthisms. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that you picked into the Pandora's office now, or box now, when we are talking about, I'm not going to express what I'm thinking of. There are some questions or some contributions from the audience. I'm sorry, I have my reading glasses on because I'm in this position that because then I cannot follow. There were several hands, but I warn you, it's a break time for a coffee now. But I see that there is no willing for that. René, we have this next, so we can move it a little bit. Okay. So, dear audience, the floor is yours now.
Well, I got the microphone, so maybe I should start. My name is Gunvor Andresen. I'm from Norway. It's my first conference. Very interesting. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Mr. Simani, because you are good at provoking and putting important issues on the floor. I think we can discuss more and we can nuance a bit that education is a weapon of mass destruction. But as you say, a reality with colonial times, and we have to accept that. And I think you raised something which for me is we have to ask questions that gives the answers to us, that it's as obvious for us to receive refugees from Yemen, Congo, as obvious as receiving them from Ukraine. Because if it is not, we are not human beings, equal human beings. So how can we ask the question and give an education where the answer will be Article number 1 in the World Declaration of Human Rights, that we are all born equal and free and should treat each other as sisters and brothers. So thank you for bringing that issue here.
Thank you for emphasizing it.
Hello to everybody. I'm Claudia from Slovenia, Kindergartens International Institution. I really liked what Max started to discuss, and especially when he was saying like mental blocks are the biggest challenges, and learning to be a human beings, like real human beings, like raising self-awareness of the individuals and also collectively. I think this is really, really important because when we raise our consciousness as individuals and also like globally, like many things fall out and they start to they eliminate themselves just by raising our awareness and consciousness like this.
Thank you. There were some more? Jiva? And the Yacho. I have to put my...
Hi, I'm Jiva. You saw me already before working with Sloga and for environmental organization. I would just like to point out, maybe following you, Max, that we are talking a lot today. I heard, I don't know, maybe 10 times that we are living in unprecedented times. I mean, that it's also something to point out that it puts us, we are putting us at a certain moment in time where actually we are looking back and we know more and we are going to solve the rest. I mean, unprecedented times for who, actually? Okay, if you look at climate change, that's true. But unprecedented wars happened even before. I mean, 90s, early 90s, we had a war like a couple of 100 kilometers away, even closer to Ukraine. Abuse, racism, it happened before. We didn't have social media to spread it so much, but it's also something, the language we use, and we should also think about it. If we talk about unprecedented, is it really unprecedented? I mean, we are working on these issues like for 20 years already, meaning that we saw these problems already before. We were building on the problems we saw before. We are trying to solve them. So it's kind of linked to the change in language we use, which we also have to think when we talk about something like this, a certain point in time where it's crucial, because we are in this point of time. So maybe just this comment. Thank you.
So basically, we knew what is coming. Ayacho, please.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Ayacho from the Institute for African Studies here in Slovenia. One is a comment, another one is a little to go further than we talked, I think. So I will begin as I said, the civil society, and as Albin introduced, the funders, among them is Slovenia, and development aid. So, because aid is meant for specific groups, therefore those specific groups are in problem, because somebody is addressing on behalf of the others, without them either defending or rejecting or accepting. So in that case, there have been saying change. What kind of change is coming? Because change is very important. No, the only constant thing, as I say, is change. Whether we do or not, change is coming. Change is inevitable. But what kind of sort of change, I think, that we can impact? And some of you who have said, in our collective memory, there have been some burdens, and I thought this, we as a people, we can rightening the wrong, because rightening the wrong will help. It's not about burden sharing. Burden, you know, here in Europe, the whole constitute different parts of different countries who might not have the same burden. Therefore, burden that has been practiced in our history is a courage to discuss it. I know many countries are doing this and that, yeah, because a very good foundation makes us stronger in the future. Therefore, global education, while I also work on that and I encourage to do, but most of the time it has been used as cliche, you know, to moralize the north, the rightful place, like morality. We can be better, you know, we are all human beings and other things, therefore let us do, I think, better than that. No, some things need legal setup, economical setup, political will. Therefore, most of the justice we enjoy now didn't come just because on the street people were singing and other things. It was a hard-fought war and a victory attained. Therefore, I think global education, with all its good sides, you know, what sort of other subjects do? Geography, history, other, you know, philosophy and other things. How come we run out of other subjects? There are. So out of many, I think we can also do some quest in terms of legal and political will. So the other one is it Venezia? I think whatever we said about the psychoanalysis of the West and other ones, I think some crimes are crime. Crimes cannot be, crimes is recorded, and those crimes has to be dealt. Whatever goodwill we may talk each other, like all of us we do in good faith actually, all of us we are doing, but there are some areas that needs, I think, if there is an environmental crime, it has to be taken to law, and we should be in a position to develop legislation. So that one, I think it could be good. It cannot be a good wish thinking, cannot just solve it. So I am for global education in its all entirety. But I think some of the things should not say, as you said, global development aid, then we point finger consciously or unconsciously to some other areas that is characterized by race or by their own definition by as you said, whether civilization or this and that, yeah? Mm-hmm. So I think that if we can integrate different values across, rather than the clash of civilization, because we build together all civilization. Therefore, I think out of many we are one, and out of one we can be different. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Archie, for that. Paola and... Moitza, the lady on the other side. Yeah. And then you, Paola.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Maja Andrić, and I'm coming from Save the Children Northwest Balkans. I just want to share with you a little experience that we had in the past 3 years. As I'm working as education in emergency lead, on the Balkan route with migrant and refugee children, and successfully in last 3 years we integrated over 2,000 children in Unasana canton in the schools into formal education. So I just want to say that whatever is coming, we just need to be fast and flexible. And the important part is the legal part behind, and that has to be speed up in the terms if we are talking about the changes in education globally. And that's the basic point.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Side.
I think that the next panel will be an opportunity maybe to share more in details how it has been done. So I would like to thank Max, Patricia, Rile, and Miguel for their reflection on what Vanessa was saying, and I would like again thank very much to Vanessa to be with us. It was, I think, 4 o'clock in the morning in Vancouver, where she was zooming in. So thank you again, and I think we worked hard in these 2 hours for this break. We will be coming back on, let us say, at 10 minutes to 4, so that we do everybody's paying something. Thank you very much for that. I have some technical stuff to say also. It's we will be after the panel part, we will be moving into the workshop part with Sasha. That means around 6:30. If we will stick to the schedule, we have a dinner together at the garden hall downstairs at 7:30. You are all invited. Please come. It will be a possibility to get more informal or to cross the boundaries of classroom. And there will be also an opportunity to overcome this desert of desertification of human contact we were suffering in the last 2 years. So really, please come. I hope it will be, and I know it will be, a very good evening for all of us. So see you 10 minutes to 4. Enjoy the coffee downstairs.